Proclamation of the Philippine Independence. Every year, the country commemorates the anniversary of the Philippine independence proclaimed on June 12, 1898 in the province of Cavite. Indeed, such event is a significant turning point in the history of the country because it signaled the end of the 333 years of Spanish colonization. There have been numerous studies done on the events leading to the independence of the country, but very few students had the chance to read the actual document of the Declaration. This is in spite of the historical importance of the document and details that the document reveals on the rationale and circumstances of that historical day in Cavite. Interestingly, reading the details of the said document is telling the kind of government that was created under Aguinaldo and the forthcoming hand of the United States of America in the next few years of the newly created republic. The Declaration was a short 2,000-word document which was summarized the reason behind the revolution against Spain, the war for independence, and the future of the new republic under Emilio Aguinaldo. The proclamation commenced with a characterization of the conditions in the Philippines during the Spanish colonial period. The document specifically mentioned abuses and inequalities in the colony. The declaration says, taking into consideration that their inhabitants being already weary of bearing the ominous yoke of Spanish domination, on account of the arbitrary arrests and harsh treatment practiced by the civil guard, to the extent of causing death with the connivance and even with the express orders of their commanders, who sometimes went to the extreme of ordering the shooting of prisoners under the pretext that they were attempting to escape, in violation of the provisions of the regulations of their corps, which abuses were unpunished and on account of the unjust deportations, especially those decreed by General Blanco, of eminent personages and of high social position, at the instigation of the archbishop and friars interested in keeping them out of the way for their own selfish and avaricious purpose, deportations which are quickly brought about by a method of procedure more execrable than that of the Inquisition, and which every civilized nation rejects on account of a decision being rendered without the hearing of the persons accused. The passage demonstrates the justifications behind the revolution against Spain. Specifically cited are the abuse by the civil guards and the unlawful shooting of prisoners whom they allege as attempting to escape. The passage also condemns the unequal protection of the law between the Filipino people and the eminent personages. Moreover, the line mentions the avarice and greed of the clergy, like the friars and the archbishop himself. Lastly, the passage also condemns what they saw was the unjust deportation and rendering of other decision without proper hearing expected of any civilized nation. From here, the proclamation proceeded with a brief historical overview of the Spanish occupation since Magellan's arrival in Visayas until the Philippine Revolution, which has specific details about the latter, especially after the Pact of Biak na Bato had collapsed. The document narrates the spread of movement like an electric spark through different towns and provinces like Bataan, Pampanga, Batangas, Bulacan, Laguna, and Morong, and the quick decline of Spanish forces in the same provinces. The revolt also reached Visayas. Thus, the independence of the country was ensured. The document also mentions Rizal's execution, calling it unjust. The execution, as written in the document, was done to please the greedy body of friars in their insatiable desire to seek revenge upon and exterminate all those who are opposed to their Machiavellian purposes, which tramples upon the penal code as prescribed for these islands. The document also narrates the Cavite Mutiny of January 1872 that caused the infamous execution of the martyred native priests Jose Burgos, Mariano Gomez, and Jacinto Zamora, whose innocent blood was shed through the intrigues of the so-called religious orders that incited the three secular priests in the said mutiny. The Proclamation of Independence also invokes that the established republic would be led under the dictatorship of Emilio Aguinaldo, The first mention was at the very beginning of the proclamation. It stated the following: In the town of Cavite Viejo, in this province of Cavite, on the 12th day of June 1898, before me, Don Ambrosio Rianzares Bautista, Auditor of War and Special Commissioner, appointed to proclaim and solemnize this act by the dictatorial government of these Philippine Islands, for the purposes and by virtue of the circular addressed by the eminent dictator of the same Don Emilio Aguinaldo y Fami. The same was repeated toward the last part of the proclamation. It states: We acknowledge, approve, and confirm together with the orders that have been issued therefrom, the dictatorship established by Don Emilio Aguinaldo, whom we honor as the supreme chief of this nation, which this day commences to have a life of its own, in the belief that he is the instrument selected by God, in spite of his humble origin, to effect the redemption of these unfortunate people, as foretold by Dr. Jose Rizal in the magnificent verses which he composed when he was preparing to be shot, liberating them from the yoke of Spanish domination in punishment of the impunity which their government allowed the commission of abuses by its subordinates. Another detail in the proclamation that is worth looking at is its explanation on the Philippine flag that was first waved on the same day. The document explained the following: And finally, it was unanimously resolved that this nation, independent from this day, must use the same flag used heretofore, whose design and colors and described in the accompanying drawing, with the design representing in natural colors the three arms referred to. The white triangle represents the distinctive emblem of the famous Katipunan Society, which by means of its compact of blood urged on the masses of the people to insurrection. The three stars represent the three principal islands of this archipelago, Luzon, Mindanao, and Panay, in which this insurrectionary movement broke out. The sun represents the gigantic strides that have been made by the sons of this land on the road of progress and civilization, its 8 rays symbolizing the 8 provinces of Manila, Cavite, Bulacan, Pampanga, Nueva Ecija, Bataan, Laguna, and Batangas, which were declared in a state of war almost as soon as the first insurrectionary movement was initiated, and the colors blue, red, and white commemorate those of the flag of the United States of North America, in the manifestation of our profound gratitude towards that great nation for the disinterested protection she is extending to us and will continue to extend to us. This often overlooked detail reveals much about the historically accurate meaning behind the most widely known national symbol in the Philippines. It is not known by many, for example, that the white triangle was derived from the symbol of the Katipunan. The red and blue colors of the flag are often associated with courage and peace, respectively. Our basic education omits the fact that those colors were taken from the flag of the United States. While it can always be argued that symbolic meaning can always change and be reinterpreted, the original symbolic meaning of something presents several historical truths that can explain the subsequent events which unfolded after the Declaration of Independence on the 12th day of June 1898.